Hello from Bali. This is a podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss some skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about self-presentation and let's start with the definition.
Self-presentation is attempt to explain to other people what you will be useful for. Sometimes you will hear something like this: I hold the position of someone who make clients happy, and I am responsible for collecting old cars at same region to be then refurbished after before we will resell them. But people do not want to know your position, because in the companies there are several cultures, and sometimes I couldn't understand what you're talking about. For example, you will talk about customer care, but in my culture there is not such a division in the company. So better to say what you could do. For example, when I was working as a head of informational security, I would say I will protect your information. When I was working as a risk officer, I will say I could calculate and mitigate risk. When I was working, for example, as a person who were given credits, I will say I could estimate your business and I will give you the best condition for new money.
And I do remember it's one of the skills. It was the business models and the management concepts. We also were looking into the business Canva, and especially like how exactly you could position yourself or your business, like what exactly problem it solves. And it actually struck me that time, because I was thinking, yes, how exactly you self-present something. And it's not really, like what you're responsible for, or what is your title, or what is your area, but what you can do, and maybe like what kind of impact you could make to their lives. So it brings me to my next question, like how you could make it slightly more relevant, because at a certain point of time, yes, if you're not really cocky, if you're not really just, like arrogant, you just could tell like things as they are. But maybe at a certain point of time, you want to sell yourself or something like this, so that you could adjust it slightly, yet not lie, but make it more relevant. So how could you possibly do that?
When I work with clients, sometimes I would be asked to do very strange things. For example, I should fly to Mongolia, or I should go to some remote island, and we will talk about quite a construction theme. But in the heart, I am IT guy, so I know a lot of high tech. And sometimes I will say, yes, okay, construction, we could make this, but maybe you could also use me for checking or maybe improving your IT architecture. And sometimes people will say, okay, it's nice to hear, and maybe we will make another part of the contract, or maybe we'll have another stage of the project. So you should always think not what could you do, but if it would be useful. I have been to Egypt, and I have a friend of mine. He was a really crazy diver, and he has his own dive center. At one point, I told him, I want to make some very brave journey to some points with white shark, California, maybe Fiji, and so on. And he told me, why you never ask me? Because I am the guy which could lead you to any dangerous space. And I told him, but you never told me about this. And he say me, but you never ask. And it was a moment of truth. And then I understand, if I will not tell people what I can do, they will never know. So you should have several self-presentation. Sometimes you could say, okay, I know about aquarium fishes. Sometimes you will say, okay, I was collecting stamp in my childhood. Sometimes you will say, okay, I know something about hobby horsing. Or you will say, I have been constructing small planes when I was a kid.
Well, then maybe it could bring us to some sort of like a philosophical / career kind of a thing, because at a certain point of time, you also might realize like who you want to be, like what will be the essence of it, like what's kind of be the words. And it could be, like something that you would adjust your life or skills or, like efforts in order to actually be matching to this. So whether this exercise worth it, and how exactly go in reverse order.
I will tell you an example. Yesterday, late night, we were writing an article with one pupil of School of Troubleshooters, and suddenly he was trying to correct me because he was saying, "You write not exactly as we have done something in the project." And I was saying, "Come on!" By the name, by the way, his name is Maxim Mukhtarov. I was telling to Maxim, you should write article not what have you done, but you should write to the people who would read. Reader wants to know how you would solve his problem. So never tell exactly how we was dealing with program code or with some system with API interfaces. It's quite boring. For example, yeah, I will write an article how I was rebuild your car, and I will exactly telling what have I paid for some windshield or some, I don't know, steering wheels or maybe some chairs. But another person want to have another repairing, and he will not interested in it, but he will better know that I'm able to repair his car. So never give the small details, give just canvas, what you can do and under which conditions you are working.
And we spoke about the presentation itself, like what exactly should be there, like what should be the, I would say, your receiver, like how exactly they should perceive. But maybe we'll focus on the presenter as well, because at a certain point of time, you don't want to be, you know, like the person who would goes by as the someone who is not really know what exactly he's talking about. He's like very, I don't know, like a meek or not so brave. So how to position yourself when you do self-presentation too?
You know, it was a very strange situation. I have been to Zanzibar, it's small island close to Tanzania and Kenya, and I have been sitting to an old officer pub. It's colonial style, no windows, but I know how to say shtory.
Curtains.
But curtains which will flow out of the window. It's on the cliff, and I could see people which they will make capoeira. I was thinking cedar made from peaches and so on. Everything was good, and suddenly it was a man approaching with a very boned spine. Согнутая спина, bone spine.
Yeah, bended.
Bended spine, and he was saying, I could give you an excursion at best price, something like this. And I was not sure that I want to talk with him. But on the second day, I saw him, and he was captain of the boat, and a lot of people were saying, so he was sitting and eating watermelon, and his staff was working very hard and was looking at him. And I came him and I said, you know, yesterday you was telling me about excursion, but you was looking like an employee, but now you're looking at a boss, as a boss, and I'm eager to go with excursion. And it was a good excursion to bottlenose dolphins. We were diving with them. And you know what is the reason? Sometimes you will bend your spine, you will go and you will be shy, and it will make your self-presentation not so impressive. You know, sometimes you would be naked, for example, in sauna or at diver's boat, but you should behave with dignity. You are the person, and you could make the same. Are you in clothes or not?
And it also might be a price tag that you're also saying that, for example, you're just going to say, hey, I'm going to solve your X problem, and it will be also comes with a certain cost, because it's also might be asked. So whether it will make sense to give the price tag, and for the price tag, I make it abstract, because, you know, like you could be asking for a relationship, for the favor or whatever. So how exactly should it be part of the self-presentation, or should it be, I would say, like a feel in the air, so it comes like good service comes with a decent price? So how exactly this should be positioned?
You remind me quarrel with my wife. She is a doctor, and sometimes she will say, we should name the service we could provide, and then we should talk about price. And I was saying quite opposite. First, you should say that you're quite expensive, and some people will say, okay, we will go to some cheaper one. So I think that as amateur will distinguish with professional, that professional will always give you price tag. For example, if you will go to the fancy restaurant, your just usual chicken soup or clear bro will cost, I know, like $100, and not many people could afford them. The earlier you will say about this, the earlier they will deny this possibility. And if you will take their time and you will give them false hope, they will say, oh, come on, we were talking so long and now we could understand that it's not affordable for us.
And then my last question will be how knowing about self-presentation would help to make this world a better place.
I was looking at people all the time on some exhibitions, on some conference, and some of them will do such a prominent self-presentation that I couldn't even remember their names, but I remember what they do for me. And sometimes I try to find them in my old papers or my old presentation, because I remember they could do exactly what I needed. But sometimes there are a lot of people who are like Mr. Polyethylene. Is it okay to say?
Polyethylene is a good one.
Polyethylene. So those people are transparent. Yes, they could be smart. They could be maybe friendly, but I could remember what they do and what they're capable of. So self-presentation, it's a hook which has a bite of what you what you could do for other people. You should use those hooks as often as it's possible.
And we review the skill of self-presentation and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.